Hi guys, welcome to Zakai Maths. Today we are going to go through the predicted paper for 2024. This is paper 3, which means that we're going to need to use a calculator, and I am going to start off with question number 1. So first question is asking us to calculate the fourth root of 20,736. So what we are going to do is we are going to type this into our calculator, and we will just need to find out what the value is. We're just going to hit the equal sign, and that is going to give us the answer, which is going to give me, when I type it into my calculator, I do shift square root sign, which is then going to allow me to change the 3 into 4, and then you type in the number inside your root, and that is going to give us 12. So we get 12 as our final answer. So question number 2 is asking us to work out 5 to the 12 divided by 5 to the 3 times 5 squared as a power of 5. So we know when we're dividing these terms, we are going to be subtracting the powers. So it's going to be 5 to the 12, take away 3. And when you times it, you add on the power. So I'm going to write it down like this. And that is going to give me 5 to the power of 11. And they asked me to write it down as a power of 5. Be careful here, because sometimes the exam questions ask you to find out the value of the outcome. So that would mean that you will need to use your calculator and do 5 to the power of 11, or just do 5 times 5 times 5. But I would recommend you to just use the calculator, because it's going to be straightforward. But in this case, we are going to just write it down as 5 to the power of 11. Right, question 3, simplify fully. We've got 2x to the 4, y to the negative 3 to the power of 4. This is the same thing as what we have inside the bracket being multiplied by itself 4 times. So this is the same thing as 2 to the 4, x to the 4 to the 4, and y to the negative 3 to the power of 4. So if you do that individually, then you will end up with 16. Remember, when we've got power to a power, that's going to be multiplied. So that's going to be 16, x to the 16. And then we've got 4 times negative 3. That's going to give us y to the negative 12. And in the end, I'm going to write down my answer as 16, x to the 16, y to the negative 12. Next question is asking us to expand and simplify. So we're going to expand the double brackets. It's going to be 3x times 2x. That's going to give us 6x squared. 3x times negative 7y is going to give us negative 21xy. 6 times 2x is going to give me 12. 6y times 2x, 12xy. And then 6y times negative 7y is going to give me negative 42y. I will then collect the like terms, of course, this one here and this one here are xy terms, so we're going to be able to write it down as 6x squared. Negative 21 plus 12 is going to give me negative 9. That's going to be negative 9xy, take away 42y. Okay, this next question is giving us the expression of y, and they're asking us to find out what y squared is going to be. So that means we need to square it. If y is 5 root x out of 2, then y squared is going to be this squared. So y squared therefore becomes 5 squared is 25. If I square the square root, that's just going to get rid of the square root sign. So that's going to be x divided by 2 squared is going to be 4. And that's going to be our answer. 25x out of 4. Question 5, column vectors, negative 4 plus negative 5 is going to give us, well, I could just write it down as negative 4 plus negative 5, just so that you guys can actually visually see what's happening. So this is going to become negative 4 plus negative 5 is negative 9, and negative 7 plus 3 is going to be negative 4. And that's going to be our final answer, negative 9, negative 4. Question 6. The number of hedgehogs in England is expected to reduce by 4% each year. Assume there are now 1 million of them. Work out the expected number of hedgehogs in England after 5 years. Okay, compound interest. So there is going to be a reduction of 4% each year. That means our multiplier is going to be 100% take away 4%, that's going to give us 96%. And as a multiplier, that's going to be, which is 0.96. So our principal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros, is going to be multiplied with 0.96 to the power of 5. And when I type this into my calculator, it gives me 815,372.6976. But obviously I'm not going to have 0.6 or 0.7 of a hedgehog, so I'm just going to write it down as 815372. 815372. Question 7. Q and R are two numbers as a product of prime factors, so they give us the product of prime factors. Well, we don't really know the numerical value of A at the moment. Oh yeah, they're asking us to find out A. The highest common factor, HCF, of Q and R is 4056. Okay, we find the highest common factor by using the common factors that came up, common prime factors that came up on both sides. So the common ones that came up on both sides, there are 3 2's here and 4 2's here, and 3 of those are common for both sides. You could even write it down like this, which might make more sense for everyone. 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times A times A times A, and R is going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times A times A. You don't have to do this, guys. I'm just writing it down like this so then you can visually see what's happening. So each pair is going to be written down as 1, so there's 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times A times A. These are the ones that comes up on both sides. This means that our highest common factor, if I write HCF, is 2 cubed times 3 times A squared. So we know that the highest common factor is 4056, so I can write it down as 4056 is, okay, 2 cubed times 3, 2 cubed, 3, 24. So we've got 24A squared. So if I divide both sides with 24, I get 4056 divided by 24, 169 is A squared. We, of course, have to square root both sides. We end up with A squared, A to be 13. Right, now that we know what A is, we can use the same method to find out the lowest common multiple. So what we do with lowest common multiple is, you could just think of it as, I'm going to take my highest common factor and multiply it with everything else that was left out. What I mean by that is, you've got 2 times 2 times, you've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times A times A, and whatever's left out should be multiplied with this, and that's going to give you the lowest common multiple. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 2's in total, so that's going to be 2 to the 4. 1, 2 3's in total, 1 here, 1 here. So that's going to give me 3 squared, and 3 A's in total, 1, 2, and 3 that was left out. So that's going to be A cubed. So this, we know A is going to be 13, so I'm going to substitute that in now. 13 cubed, and that is 316368. There we go. Okay, simple probability tree. So 2 ordinary fair lines complete them. Okay, if this is 1 out of 3, this needs to add up to 1. So therefore, this is going to be 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3, 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3. Okay, work out the probability that both dice land on a number less than 3. So we are looking for less than 3 and less than 3. Less than 3, let me get the pen, right. Less than 3 is going to be 1 out of 3, and in probability is times 1 out of 3. That's going to give you 1 out of 9. Okay, question 9 is asking us to work out the volume of the prism. But in order for us to be able to find out the volume of this prism, what we need to do is we need to find out the area of the face, which is this triangle here, which we could, because we know 5 and 12, and then we need to multiply it with the depth, or the length, this bit here. But we don't know what that bit is. So in order for us to get to that point, we need to do something first of all. So we've got a right angle triangle here, and this also is a right angle triangle. And we know that in the question, it tells us that M is the midpoint of CF. So if we could find out what this length is, then we would be able to find out, we'll be able to double that to find out the actual depth of this shape. So how can I do that? If that's a triangle, right angle triangle, if I could find this bit by using Pythagoras' theorem, I will then be able to use Pythagoras' theorem again to find out C to M, and then we'll take it from there. So first of all, if I separate this and try to find out, if this is 12, this is 5, if I'm trying to find out, I'm going to call this y since I called this x, so we don't get confused. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So that's 12 squared plus 5 squared is equal to y squared. 12 squared is 144, plus 25 is equal to y squared. So 169 is equal to y squared. So 13 is x then. Sorry, I'm just using x again, that's y. So we just square rooted both sides to get 13. So I know this side is 13. I could then separate this shape and use Pythagoras' theorem again to find out c to m. So this is 13, this is 16, and we called this x. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 13 squared plus x squared equals 16 squared. So I need to take 13 squared away from both sides. I'm not going to even do the calculation yet. I can do it later on. So this will be 16 squared take away 13 squared. So when I do 16 squared take away 13 squared on my calculator, it gives me 87. And both sides square rooted to find out the length is going to give me 9.3. Okay, so if I know this is 9.3, then we've got another 9.3. And to find out the volume of this shape, we need to do the area of its face, which is the triangle. So that is 12 times 5 divided by 2, and times that by the depth, which is 9.3 and 9.3. So that's 18.6. So when I type this into my calculator, I'm going to end up with 558 centimeters cubed. Question 10. Sam runs 10 minutes. The graph shows his pulse in beats. Okay, so by drawing a tangent, work out the rate at which his pulse is increasing after 3 minutes. Okay, so we go to 3 minutes. You guys are going to use your calculator here. I'm just going to try and do some sort of like estimation. I'm just going to follow this line. Imagine you have your calculator and you're just going to be drawing a line going up through here. And as soon as you touch the line, you are going to hold your ruler as close to the curved line as possible, which is going to give you a straight line. And by using that straight line, we are going to be finding so it's there. We are going to be finding the gradient of this line, and that's going to give us our answer. So that's going to be, that is roughly, so if I just pick that exact point, that's going to be 119. If I pick this, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pick something that is as close to the curve as possible. You don't necessarily have to, you could just use any other exact point and that will give you the same answer in the end. It's an estimate. So we go here, around here, so that's 122-ish. So change in y over change in x. My change in y from 119 to 122 is going to be 3. And change in x from 3 to 3.3-ish. So that's going to be 0.3 then. So change in y is 3, change in x is going to be 0.3. So the gradient is going to be change in y over change in x, which is 3 out of 0.3, which roughly is going to be 10. I'm just saying roughly because it's an estimate. So that is going to be beats per minute, because we've got beats per minute. So beats per minute is going to be written down as beats per minute squared. There we go. Question 11. Here are two sectors from different circles, sector A, sector B. They're not drawn accurately. Which sector has the bigger area? This is an interesting question for a total 2 marks. To find out the area of these sectors, sector A, we need to remember that when we are trying to find out the area of a sector, we do pi r squared as usual, but we need to take into account that we're only looking for this much, which is x out of the 360 degrees. X out of the 360 degrees. So the radius here is 1.5 r. So I'm going to write 1.5 r. I already wrote the angle, which was x. So it's going to be pi times 1.5 r squared. I'm going to put it inside the bracket so I don't get confused. Divided by 360. And this is going to be 1.5 squared is 2.25. Radius squared is radius squared. So we've got 2.25 radius squared. 2.25 pi r squared multiplied with x is x divided by 360. Sector B is pi times radius squared times 2x out of 360. Well, luckily the radius is radius actually. Well, I don't need to substitute anything in. I'm just going to leave it as it is. So 2 times pi times radius squared is going to be 2 pi r squared with the x divided by 360. I mean, we're basically comparing 2.25 and 2, so that means sector A is going to be the bigger one. Question 12. Two integers have a difference of 6. The integers are multiplied together. 9 is then added. Prove algebraically that the result is always a square number. Okay, so I'm going to use the letter x. If first one is x, the second one could be x plus 6. So when multiplied together, it should be x times x plus 6, which is x squared plus 6x. So whatever we find, we are then going to add 9 to it. So that's going to be x squared plus 6x plus 9. And we're trying to prove algebraically that the result is always a square number. So if I factorize this, it's going to be x plus 3 and x plus 3, which is the same thing as x plus 3 squared. Therefore, a square number. There we go. Question 13, bounds. They're asking us to work out the lower bound of m. So to do that, we need to find out the upper and lower bound of both of these letters. So they are correct to one decimal place. That means 0.1. I usually do it as, if it is one decimal place, 0.1, half of that, add it on and take it away from the number. So P, upper bound of P is going to be 68.35, and the lower bound is going to be 68.25. For B, upper bound and lower bound. Upper bound of B is going to be 8.75, and the lower bound is going to be 8.65. So now we need to think strategically about this, because what we are trying to do is we're trying to end up with the lowest answer. So how can we get the lowest answer? If I pick the smallest value, which is the lower bound of P, and the upper bound of B, I will be taking a larger number from a smaller number, so that means I'm going to end up with a lower bound of M. So that means we're going to be using the lower bound of P, which is going to be, M is going to be 68.25, take away 2 times B. I'm going to use the upper bound of B because I'm trying to end up with, I'm trying to take a larger number away from the number that I have, so then I can end up with a smaller number. So 8.75 will be divided by 2, and that is going to give us 25.375. 25.375. Question 14 is a functions question. So we've got a composite function here, so where we need to take gx and substitute it into f. So that means this will be substituted into the x values here. So this is f gx is equal to 2x plus 4 squared plus 6 times 2x plus 4. So 2x plus 4 squared is the same thing as, let me just use a different colour. This is the same thing as 2x plus 4 and 2x plus 4. Okay, so we can expand this, and that's going to give us 4x squared plus 8x plus 8x plus 16. And we collect the like terms, and that is 4x squared plus 16x plus 16. So we can write it under here. 4x squared plus 16x plus 16 plus, when I expand the bracket with this section here, so 6 times 2x is 12x, 6 times 4 is 24. We collect the like terms, and that gives us the expression that we're looking for. So that's going to be 4x squared plus 28x plus 40. Next question is asking us to solve f of gx, okay? So we found it to be 4x squared plus 28x plus 40. So that means 4x squared plus 28x plus 40 is equal to -5. This looks like a quadratic to me. And I can add 5 to both sides to make it equal to 0. And then I can use either factorizing or quadratic formula, or you can complete the square. It's totally up to you. 28x plus 45 is equal to 0. I'm going to be using the quadratic formula for this, so that's going to be -b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So you can remember the happy birthday song for this. Now, we should remember that this is a, this is b, this is c. When all this is substituted in, we are going to get x to be -28 plus or minus 28 squared take away 4 times 4 times 5. I usually substitute these inside a bracket just in case there's a negative. 2 times a, which is 4. So when I type this into my calculator with positive and negative separately, I'm going to end up with x as negative 2.5 and x negative 4.5. Question 15. Here are the first 4 terms of a quadratic sequence. Okay, so we've got 3, 20, 47, 84. So from here to there, here to there, here to there. 3 to 20 is 17, 20 to 47 is 27, and from 47 to 84 is 37. So the second difference is 10. I do it with halving the second difference. So I'm going to halve the second difference. Half the second difference, which is 10 divided by 2, and that's going to give you 5, which means my nth term is going to start off with 5n squared. So first term, second term, and third term of the sequence started off with the original one was 3, 20, and 47. I'm just going to focus on the first 3 first. And then I've got my 5n squared. To find out the first term of 5n squared, I need to substitute 1 in, and then 2 in for the second one, and then 3 in for the third one. So we need to do 5 times 1 squared. 1 squared is 1, times it by 5 is 5. 5 times 2 squared is 2 squared is 4, times it by 5 is 20. So we are not doing 5 times 2, 10, then squaring it. We need to square the number first, and then times it with what's in front. So this is going to be 20, and this is going to be 45. The difference will give us a new sequence that we can find out the nth term for. 0, 2. The difference between these is plus 2, so that's a linear, plus 2n. Go back and find out the 0th term. Let me just use a different colour for this so we don't get confused. 0th term is going to be, take away 2 from it, it's going to be negative 4. Which means our answer is going to be 5n squared plus 2n, take away 4. If in doubt, you can double check your answer. So if you were to substitute 1 into n, it should give you 3 because that's the first term. If you were to substitute 2 into n, it should give you 20, which is going to be the second term. And that's how you can check your answer. Question 16. The table and histogram give some information about the height of 120 children. Okay, so what they ask us to do is to complete the table and histogram. So in order for me to be able to complete the table, I need to look at the frequency along with my graph here. So we've got the distance between 60 and 70 is 10. 10 times something, because the area of each of these bars should give me the frequency. 10 times something should give me 20, so that means this is 2 then. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each little square is 0.1, 0.1, yeah. So if that's the case, the distance from 70 to 75 is 5. So we're going to times 5 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more from 2. So that means that's going to be 3. So we need to do 3 times 5, and that's going to be 15. So from 70 to 75 is going to be 15. From 95 to 105, the distance between them is going to be 10. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. That means 0.5. So 10 times 0.5 is going to give us 5. So we've done that, and now we need to complete the rest. From 40 to 60 is 30. So the distance from 40 to 60 is 20. So we need to go 1.5 up. That means 15 little squares. which is going to be somewhere around here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, around here somewhere. Oh. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's going to be here. The next one is going to be from here to there, which is something like this. There we go. Okay, calculate an estimate of the upper quartile of the height of, okay, upper quartile is 3/4 of your data, first of all, so that's going to be 3/4 of 120. This means we are looking at the 90th data. So to find out the 90th data point, we need to do the cumulative frequency. So from here to here, we've got 30 data points. From here to here, we've got 50 data points. From start all the way up to the end of 15, we've got 65 data points. That means our 90th data point is going to be in the next class, which is here. Okay, that's not the answer yet. We're going to find out the answer. So up to here, we've got 65. We are trying to get to 90, so that means we will need 25 more into the next set of data. So 25 into our next set of data is actually bang in the middle. So that means it is going to be right in the middle of 75 and 95, and that is going to be 85. Now, if you can't see it straight away, then what you could do is you could do 95 plus 75 divided by 2, and that's going to give you 85. And that is 85 centimeters. Question 17. So they give us this and they're asking us, so all this information up here is actually explaining what's in this, and work out the direct distance from P to R. So they're asking us to work out the direct distance from P to R. So this section here, I'm going to call it X. So what I could do is, because I know the sides, I know this bit, I know this bit. If I find out the angle here, I will be able to use cosine rule. So I know these co-interior angles should add up to 180 degrees. That means this is going to be 100 degrees. And to find out what this angle is, angles around the point is 360. So I could do 360, take away 155, take away 100, which is 105 degrees. So if this is 105 degrees, I could use my cosine rule. So that means P to R squared, or you could write it down as X squared, is equal to 12 squared plus 28 squared minus 2 times 12 times 28 times cos 105. So when I type this into my calculator, 12 squared, 28, negative 2 times 12 times, right, it gives me 1101.926398, and this is PR squared. So of course we need to square root both sides to find out what P to R is, and that is going to give us P to R as 33.19527675. Even though the question is not asking me to write it down to any decimal places or significant figures, I'm gonna write down the full thing that's on my calculator display, and then I will write it down to 1 dp, and I will make sure that I write that down in the bracket like this. So that's going to be 33.2 to 1 dp. Question 18. An electrician charges an hourly rate plus a fixed charge per job. If an electrician does a 4-hour job, they earn £185. And if they do a 6-hour job, they earn £265. Okay, so if I let the letter X be the fixed charged, and let Y to be the hourly rate, I would be able to write this down as, so this would be, okay, this one would be fixed charge plus the 4 hours would give you £185. And this one here is going to be the fixed charge, because you have to pay that as soon as you ask them to do the job for you, plus 6y is going to be 265. So that's how we create simultaneous equation, really. So I'm going to place these strategically so I can take the smaller number away from the greater number. So it's going to be x plus 6y is equal to 265. And then we've got x plus 4y, that's equal to 185. So x's are the same, so they are the same sign, so I can take them away. So x take away x is going to be nothing, so 6y take away 4y, so this is going to be 2y. 265 take away 185 is 80. Divided by 2, so therefore y is going to be £40. Okay, so the hourly rate is £40. I will then go back and substitute it into any of the equation. It doesn't really matter whether I substitute it into 1 or 2. I'm just going to number them for you. I'm going to use the second one because it's got the smaller numbers. So x plus 4y is equal to 185. This is x plus 4 times 40 is 185. So that's x plus 160 is 185. Of course, I've got the pound sign. Take away 160 from both sides. X is then going to be £25. There we go. Question 19 is algebraic fractions. So it's asking us to show that x minus 5 out of x minus 2 plus x plus 5 out of x plus 2 can be written down in this form. So what we do with fractions, we're adding, so we need to have the same denominator. So I'm going to write them down first of all. Divided by x minus 2 plus x plus 5 out of x plus 2. I will times this side with x plus 2. And this side will be multiplied with x minus 2. So when I expand these, x squared minus 5, okay, with this side, we get x squared minus 5x plus 2x minus 10 out of x squared minus 4 plus x squared minus 2x plus 5x minus 10 gives me, so x squared minus 4 is a simplified version of this because I can see that it's difference of two squares. So collecting the like terms is going to give us x squared minus 3x minus 10 plus x squared plus 3x minus 10 out of x squared minus 4. 3's will cancel out because this is a negative, this is a positive. And in the end, it's going to give me 2x squared minus 20 out of x squared minus 4. And that will be my answer. Question 20. The diagram shows a rectangle split into 3 triangles. Okay, the total shaded area is 8.5 centimeters squared. Work out the value of x, give your answer to one decimal place. Okay, if we need to find out the area of the rectangle, area of the triangle, and take them away to find out the shaded area, and then we can equate it to 8.5. So I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to write it down as area of the rectangle, which is going to be 3x times 2x plus 3, and that is 6x squared plus 9x centimetres squared. And area of the triangle, since this is the same as 3x, I can just use 3x as my perpendicular height for the triangle. So it's going to be half of this. So 3x times 2x plus 3 divided by 3x plus out of 2 is going to be the area of this. So this is going to be 3x squared plus 4.5x centimeters squared. So when I take them away, it's going to give me the shaded area, and that I can equate it to 8.5. So 6x squared plus 9x. Take away, I'm going to write this down inside the bracket just in case. I don't want to make mistakes with the positives and negatives. So this gives me 3x squared. So 9x take away 4.5x is going to be 4.5x. And what we're saying is this is the shaded area, by the way. We took away the triangle. And this, in our question, it said the total shaded area is 8.5. So this is 8.5. So they want 1 dp. So we can take 8.5 away from both sides and use quadratic. So I could double all of these to make it 6x squared plus 9x and so on. Or I could just use it as it is and substitute it into my formula. B squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And when I substitute it into my calculator, it gives me, so I'm going to get negative 4.5 plus or minus 4.5 squared, take away 4 times 3 times negative 8.5. Everything that I substitute, I always put it inside the bracket. 2 times 3, even this you could put it inside the bracket. And that gives me, I'm going to write it in red over here, guys, so I've got some space. When I type this into my calculator, it gives me 1.1 and x to be negative 2.6. 21. Outside a calf, there is a large plastic ice cream cornet. Cornet is a hemisphere on P is a point on the circle with equation x squared plus y squared equals 80. P has x coordinate 4 and is below the x-axis. Work out the equation of the tangent to the circle at P. Okay, so if I know x coordinate is 4, I could substitute that in to find out the y coordinate. So that's going to be 4 squared plus y squared equals 80. 4 squared is 16 plus y squared is equal to 80. Take 16 away from both sides is going to give me 64. Square root both sides will give me y to be plus or minus 8. But since we know if the x-axis is 4, my y-axis has to be negative, where the P is positioned. It has to be negative, so I'm going to use negative 8. So, gradient of my radius is negative 8 out of 4. Since if this is the radius, this is 0, 0, and we need to do y2 take away y1, x2 take away x1, so negative 8 take away 0, 4 take away 0 is going to give you negative 8 out of 4. And the gradient of your tangent is going to be negative reciprocal of this, so that's going to be 4 out of 8, and it will become a positive because it was a negative, which simplifies down to 1 out of 2, by the way. So I can use the equation as y is equal to 1 out of 2x plus c. We now need to find out the y-intercept. So we can substitute 4 and negative 8. 4 is the x-axis, negative 8 is the y-axis. So negative 8 is equal to half of 4 plus c. Negative 8 is, half of 4 is 2 plus c. Take away 2 from both sides. C is negative 10. So our final answer is y equals half x plus negative 10, which is a negative 10. And that will be the final answer. So I just wanted to say that I'm so proud of you guys. Well done for doing some extra revision, and good luck in your exam. I'm sure you're going to go in there and smash it.